The Minnesota Vikings have agreed to terms with longtime veteran first-round draft pick Sheldon Richardson after being released by the Cleveland Browns on the 16th of April, has remained a free agent until right now, where he signed by the Minnesota Vikings on a one-year deal worth $8 million. He is signed as a defensive tackle number 3, back up to both Michael Pierce and Delvin Tomlinson, and we will be covering all of this today on this episode of Morning Kickoff. So there is a lot of returning faces on this Vikings defense. Obviously, we saw the Vikings bring back Delvin Tomlinson, or bring back Stephen Weatherly. They signed Delvin Tomlinson. They drafted Janarius Robinson. They drafted Patrick Jones. We see Michael Pierce and Danielle Hunter also coming back with the Minnesota Vikings. Now, technically, Michael Pierce, it's weird to say that he's coming back with the Minnesota Vikings because he did not play this 2020 season, but realistically, this is going to be his first time in Vikings uniform. So although it's not his first season under contract with the Vikings, it will be his first season in Vikings uniform, and excited to see what he can do as well. So we're putting him on the list as additions for the Minnesota Vikings. And then obviously Danielle Hunter's return is the biggest return on this Vikings team. Obviously last year Vikings were dead last in pass rush. Danielle Hunter, being one of the best pass rushers in the NFL, will make a huge impact this upcoming season, as he has all of his career thus far. And now coming into this upcoming season, we don't have Jalen Holmes rushing the passer. We don't have Afadio Denebo rushing the passer. Anthony Barr is going to be back. So it's going to be a total different story on defensive side of the ball. I'm very excited to see what this Vikings defense can do this upcoming season, and it can make or break the season depending on how this defensive line does look, because it is what held us back the most last year. So many moves that have been made on this Vikings defense, not only on the defensive line, although that's what we're going to be focusing on today, but the defense as a whole. They filled every role that you have to fill on this Vikings defense. However, defensive end, no, they definitely filled the role at defensive end too. I mean, bringing in Stephen Weatherly as a possible potential starter if need be. Now, Stephen Weatherly, you want him to be a backup. However, he's kind of that bumper if the Vikings defensive ends aren't really working. Maybe Danielle Hunter gets another injury or something. He is a bumper there. And then drafting Patrick Jones, drafting Janarius Robinson. Moves have been made on this Vikings defense in both the draft and free agency, and you love to see it. So this might be the final move that the Vikings make on defense. Now, recently, obviously, bringing in Breland is another huge move for the Vikings. He's a potential starter with the Vikings, or another bumper corner, depending on if the Vikings suffer with an injury. So Sheldon Richardson will be 31 years old this upcoming season. This will make him the oldest player on the Vikings defensive line, and one of 3 players on the Vikings defense that is over the age of 30. Our only 3 players over the age of 30 is now Sheldon Richardson, obviously Harrison Smith, longtime veteran, and then Patrick Peterson, who they just brought in for another one-year contract. So Sheldon Richardson, 31 years old, was drafted in 2013, 13th overall by the New York Jets, making him an 8-year veteran. And like we've said already, this is his first year where he will not be a starter. He has played 8 years in the NFL, obviously 13th overall draft pick. He has played as a starter every season so far, including one season with the Minnesota Vikings in 2018. He has just been a starter since he's entered the NFL. And the reason why he was a free agent for so long, and why just now he's getting a contract, because this is Sheldon Richardson. He is a big name in the NFL. The reason why he's just getting a contract now is obviously with the salary cap going down from how it was last year, and he's being an aging player. He's 31, already hit his ceiling in the NFL. Teams are not likely to spend their little money that they're given on Sheldon Richardson, who will likely only be in the NFL for a max 5 more years. Now, 5 more years is pushing it. 3 more years probably is more like it. But anyways, teams are not willing to give up that much for him as of right now, where their salary cap is cut down, and that's why it's taken him this long to get a contract, and not as a starter. Although he does deserve to be a starter in the NFL, he's getting a contract as a backup and has come to play under this Vikings defense, which is a great defense to play for. Obviously, Adam Zimmerman and Andre Patterson are 2 excellent defensive coordinators, so this is a great spot for him to come back to. He played 16 games where he started in the NFL last year on the Cleveland Browns, where he had 64 total tackles, 3 pass deflections, a forced fumble, 4.5 sacks, and a 71.1 PFF grade. So that right there, if you look at that, that is obviously starting stats in the NFL. That is very impressive for Sheldon Richardson, and him coming with the Minnesota Vikings. He will not be a starter, but he does have a big role to fill for the Minnesota Vikings. I am a little interested to see what number he will choose to play with the Minnesota Vikings, as last time he was 93. That number is obviously taken by one of our draft picks, was Shamar Stephen last year. one of our draft picks, defensive end, took it. I think it was Janarius Robinson, if I have that correct, or also it was Patrick Jones. And then 98, he played last year. Obviously, DJ Wanham, another draft pick that we've had since we've had Sheldon Richardson on the team. So I don't know what number he's going to choose, but whatever number he chooses, who cares? He's probably going to be here only one year, and then he'll get a contract somewhere else after that. So what is his role with the Minnesota Vikings? Now, obviously, Vikings, we have two very good defensive tackles right now. And I love to say that because last year I could not have said the same thing. Jaleel Johnson and Shamar Stephen were possibly the worst defensive tackle duo in the entire NFL. Both of those players aren't even going to be starting this upcoming season. I don't even know what team Shamar Stephen plays for. He might still be a free agent as of right now. And Jaleel Johnson, of course, because he's young, he did get a contract with the Houston Texans as a backup. So I don't know quite where those players are going to go with the rest of their careers, but it's not going to be with the Minnesota Vikings as of right now. So what is Sheldon Richardson's role? Now, the biggest thing when you look at the list of our defensive tackles, our 5 defensive tackles that will be on the roster this upcoming season will be Michael Pierce, Dalvin Tomlinson, our 2 starters, Sheldon Richardson, James Lynch, and Armon Watts. When you look at the list of defensive tackles, you will look at size and how much Andre Patterson loves size in his players. Well, our 2 starting defensive tackles are nose tackles. These guys are big players. They are big guys. Michael Pierce should be a nose tackle. I don't know why he's playing as he is. He should be a nose tackle in the NFL, and Vikings could use a 3-man rush. However, our defensive ends are not good enough to run a lot of 3-man rushes, so obviously he's going to be a defensive tackle along Dalvin Tomlinson. That right there, Michael Pierce and Dalvin Tomlinson, Michael Pierce being 345 pounds, Dalvin Tomlinson being 320 pounds, I don't know what running backs are going to be able to do. Both of those players are nose tackles, playing defensive tackle. Running backs will not be able to run over this Vikings defense. However, with that being said, size is not always the best thing, which is why you want players with different sizes on your roster. Because yes, being a big defensive tackle is very good in the NFL, as running backs will not be able to do much against you, and you can power some of these inside guards. However, with size comes slow speed. These players are not fast. They cannot rush the passer. And when you're in a division and when you're in a league where you're playing teams who love to pass, having 2 defensive tackles that are built like nose tackles is not good. This is not what you want to see in the NFL, which is why Sheldon Richardson coming with the Vikings, being an interior pass rusher, the best interior pass rusher on our depth chart, is a huge role to fill. Because when comes 3rd and long, when comes a team, when you're down and obviously teams are passing to catch up, you can run Sheldon Richardson, play him a lot more, and this will be very good for the Minnesota Vikings. If the Minnesota Vikings have a 3-score lead, teams are going to pass to catch up. That is when you don't play Dalvin Tomlinson. That is when you start Sheldon Richardson in place of that, because teams are passing a lot and you want to be able to rush the passer instead of focusing on the run. When it comes 3rd and long, you want to play Sheldon Richardson over Michael Pierce, over Dalvin Tomlinson, because he is going to rush the passer. Because teams obviously don't run when it's 3rd and long. 3rd is a passing down. This is a pass-heavy league. So having 2 defensive tackles that are built like nose tackles is not what you want to see in the NFL. It's going to be interesting how the Vikings will like to play that. But with having Sheldon Richardson is a sigh of relief to have him come with the Minnesota Vikings, where you can rotate him in because he is a starter. Now, obviously, he's not going to be a starter with the Vikings, but he should be a starter somewhere in the NFL. Michael Pierce is said to be our best defensive tackle. I would agree with that. I do think Michael Pierce is our best defensive tackle. He is 345 pounds, 6 foot. So he can tackle whatever running back is coming his size. He can plow through whatever guard is trying to guard him. However, he cannot rush the passer. Sheldon Richardson last year had more sacks than Michael Pierce in his entire career, because having 2 nose tackles playing defensive tackle might work. Because last year, teams ran all over the Vikings. If you can't stop the run, you can't stop any of these teams, because you make every running back look like a superstar. I will say it right now. I am sorry, Bears fan. David Montgomery is not great. He is good. He is not a great running back. The Vikings defense made David Montgomery look like a great running back. Alvin Kamara is not top 3 in the NFL. He is a great running back. He is not top 3 in the NFL. The Vikings made him look like the best running back in the NFL. This is how important it is to have defensive tackles that can stop the run, but with that, you now cannot stop the pass. There's a balance between pass rushers and run stoppers, and the Vikings have the perfect balance after adding Sheldon Richardson. Another role that you could see Sheldon Richardson play as, because he is also a good run stopper. He's not just a pass rusher. Another role you could see him play as is if the Vikings like to run, well, experiment with running three-man rushes, you could actually see Sheldon Richardson play as a defensive end if the Vikings are suffering that much at the defensive end position, because assuming Danielle Hunter stays healthy, he is obviously our best pass rusher. You want to use him on every down. You could use Michael Pierce or Dalvin Tomlinson as a nose tackle, and then use maybe Sheldon Richardson as another defensive end, because he was drafted as a defensive end. Now he has transitioned into the defensive tackle role, where he is obviously playing better as a tackle than he was as a defensive end, but you could use him as that if he is your second best pass rusher. Now, obviously, Anthony Barr is our second best pass rusher. So our second best pass rusher on the defensive line is what I'm trying to say here. And then you could obviously blitz Barr. You can blitz Harrison Smith. You can blitz Cameron Smith. You can blitz Troy Dye if you wanted to. Probably not Eric Kendricks. You want to make him stay at that middle linebacker in coverage is where his best role is. So we should be just as happy as Sheldon Richardson is to play here. Now, yes, he wanted to be a starter somewhere. He wanted to get a higher contract than he's gotten. However, this is the best contract that he can get as of right now. And the reason why it's the best that he can get, although he could possibly be a starter somewhere, is because he's playing under this defense. This Vikings defense is elite. And yes, that is surprising to say. I did not expect to go into this offseason, coming out of this offseason with this great of a defense. The Vikings adding Patrick Peterson, adding Xavier Woods, adding Breland, adding, who else did we add? Mackenzie Alexander, Dalvin Tomlinson. We have Michael Pierce and Danielle Hunter coming back. We have Anthony Barr coming back. Eric Kendricks coming back. We just drafted, we have Nick Vigil, who we added as well. We brought back Stephen Weatherly. I can't even remember all the additions that the Vikings have made this offseason. And then on top of that, we drafted a new safety, Cameron Bynum. We brought in a bunch of more corners. We have these players going into their second years. So seeing this happen with the Minnesota Vikings, you love to see it. And I can confidently go into this next season saying our defense is going to be good. I can't confidently say we're going to be a top 7 defense. The reason why I can't confidently say that is because I don't know how this Vikings defense is going to look against the pass. We have one pass rusher, Danielle Hunter. He's our only elite pass rusher on this Vikings defense. Our best last year was DJ Wanham. He might not even be starting this upcoming season. Our coverage grade will improve. I can confidently say that. Will it be great? I don't know. But it's really going to come down to if this defense, I'm not even asking this defense to get the most turnovers. I'm just asking to contain these offenses to under 26 points a game. That's all you have to do. Now, obviously, I love turnovers. If the Vikings defense didn't get one score last year. That's how bad they were. Not one score. They might have got a couple turnovers that were given to them, but that's the only turnovers we got. There was not very many impressive interceptions, not many impressive sacks. So Vikings defense this upcoming season will be a lot better than it was last year with all of these additions and then with these players being improved because our Vikings defensive coaching staff is great. And we already know we have a top 5 offense in the NFL. Offensive line is a bit iffy, but playmakers, we have a top 5 offense. So that's why I have already talked about this, that Vikings should be in the conversation for Super Bowl competitors. They should be the favorites in the North. When Aaron Rodgers is traded, Vikings will be the favorites in the North. And talking about Super Bowl competitors as well. Now, there's a lot of tough teams in the NFC, but with this defense, with the offense, with this coaching staff, all these players coming back, Vikings should at least be in the conversation, which is why this upcoming season is going to be a huge sigh of relief compared to what it was last year. And I'm very excited for this upcoming season with the Minnesota Vikings, and I'm very excited to see what this defensive line can do. Thank you all for tuning into this segment of episode 99 of Morning Kickoff. Have a great day.